What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and currently right now the GM meetings are taking place. They are essentially meetings where everyone in the league, all the GMs come together, they go over rule changes and stuff like that, and usually that leads to some interesting trades because, well, you have every single GM in the league in the room together. Obviously, they're going to talk about baseball, but we haven't had that yet. We haven't had those really interesting trades, at least not on the Red Sox side of things. What we did get over the last 24 to 48 hours was a couple of announcements that are going to be huge impacts on the 2023 Boston Red Sox. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the Red Sox re-signing a utility player, a key utility player, and we're going to talk about some of the announcements that came out of these winter GM meetings and how they are going to affect the Red Sox this offseason and this season in 2023 in general, mostly on the pitching side. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Let's start with the news about Red Sox signing, and that is that the Red Sox have signed Rob Refsnyder to a one-year, $1.2 million deal. Now, Rob Refsnyder was eligible for arbitration, but this deal allows both the team and Rob to avoid that sort of arbitration process with the hearings and whatnot. And so the Red Sox have Rob Refsnyder on a one-year, $1.2 million deal, and I gotta say, I absolutely love this move. Rob Refsnyder was fantastic in 2022. He finished the year with a 307 average, an 881 OPS, and a 143 OPS plus in a bit of a smaller sample size of 57 at-bats. But he was also a little bit of a spark plug in this Red Sox offense, especially against lefties. He had some great clutch home runs. He was always electric, was able to put the ball in play a lot, and good things happen when you put the ball in play, as we all know, and Rob Refsnyder did that fantastically. Again, in a bit of a smaller sample size, but still, he was great at the plate, and on the field, he was great as well. He was good in almost every single outfield position that we put him in. He was making fantastic plays, not just spectacular diving catches and stuff like that. I'm talking about the little plays, the cutting off the ball to turn a double into a single, being able to hit the cutoff man to hopefully gun a guy at second base, doing the little things that we really kind of missed a little bit this year in the outfield specifically, and Rob Refsnyder being in that outfield is fantastic news. In my opinion, the Red Sox will probably use Rob in a similar role that they did in 2022, sort of that utility outfield type role where he can play any sort of position whenever guys need rest, or maybe they use him a little bit too in the DH role as well. We talked about how well he hits against lefties, and maybe that's something that the Red Sox are going to look into come 2023. Using Rob Refsnyder as sort of a versatile DH option isn't a bad deal at all. So in my opinion, getting Rob Refsnyder here on a one-year, $1.2 million deal is an absolutely fantastic move. I think he's the perfect addition to this 2023 Red Sox team. Bringing him back adds depth to your bench, it adds an option in the outfield, and it adds an option at DH. Plus, he's just a fun guy to watch play baseball, and I'm excited to see him come back. All the other news that came out recently was about the Red Sox pitching staff, and the biggest news to come out of the last couple of days is the fact that the Red Sox announced that it's almost certain that Garrett Whitlock will be in the starting rotation come 2023 and beyond. Now, this really shouldn't shock a ton of people. We've already talked about how Alex Cora talked about him being in the rotation. We talked about how Hein Bloom has talked about him being in the rotation. They gave him a contract that looked more like a starting pitcher's contract than a reliever's contract. It was all kind of writing on the wall, so this move kind of makes sense. And personally, I don't hate this move at all. I specifically love the idea that they're coming out just a couple of days into the Red Sox official offseason and saying that he will be a starting pitcher, that they've let him know that he's going to be a starting pitcher, because obviously Garrett Whitlock got his surgery and he's rehabbing right now, but now he can use the entirety of the offseason to gear himself into the starting pitching role. Last year was a bit of a we're going to throw you in there and see what happens type thing. He wasn't really prepared to be a starting pitcher, and it's one of the things that we talked about for wanting this offseason. That is decision making, being able to say, hey, look, this is going to be our starter, these are going to be our closers. All those roles that were kind of jumbled up last year and didn't really lead to any success, it looks like the Red Sox are doing the exact opposite this year by telling Garrett Whitlock, hey, you're going to be in the rotation. Obviously, Garrett Whitlock is a fantastic pitcher. I think given the appropriate time to truly adjust to being a starter in Major League Baseball, that he will truly shine as a starting pitcher. And yes, it is more valuable having an elite starting pitcher than an elite bullpen arm. But there are obviously concerns with having Garrett Whitlock in this rotation. The biggest one is the hole that he leaves in the bullpen. Hopefully this move announcing that they are going to move Garrett Whitlock to the rotation is going to lead to a lot of other bullpen moves. We've heard rumors that the Red Sox have started talking to relievers in terms of free agency. We know that Chaim Bloom has stated that he wants to make some trades, and it looks as though they are hopefully going to focus on that bullpen, bringing in some guys who are relievers who have definitive roles, right? A setup man, a closer. Define those roles early and fix this bullpen, because let's be honest, the bullpen's probably the biggest weak point on the 2022 Red Sox, and it's definitely the biggest weak point going into the 2023 offseason. So my hope is that announcing that Garrett Whitlock came into the rotation early means that the hole that he is leaving behind in the bullpen is going to be filled, but that is definitely a concern to keep an eye on as we move forward through this 2023 offseason. The other concern is the flexibility of this Red Sox rotation. Adding Garrett Whitlock in, and the guy that we're about to talk about in a second, really limits your flexibility in terms of bringing in outside options to this Red Sox rotation that I think we were all kind of hoping for. So that's another thing to keep your eye on as well. We're going to get more in depth into what that could mean for this Red Sox rotation in a second. All in all, I'm pretty excited about the fact that the Red Sox are going to put Garrett Whitlock in that starting role. I think he will be fantastic, and I love the fact that they made that decision so early. The last piece of news here is a guy that we have been talking about constantly for the last 3 videos, and I hope this is the last time we mention his name until we get to predictions and stuff like that, and that is the fact that James Paxton has opted into his 1-year $4 million player option for the 2023 season with the Boston Red Sox. I would have absolutely hated the idea of the Red Sox paying him 2 years $13 million a year, but 1 year, $4 million isn't bad at all. James Paxton has the ability to be a good pitcher in Major League Baseball, but his injuries have held him back, and taking a chance on a 1 year, $4 million deal for a guy like James Paxton isn't a bad deal at all. It's high reward, low risk, right? If he doesn't work out, it's $4 million. In the grand scheme of things, that's a lot of money to us, but to a Major League team, that's pennies, right? If he does work out, you're paying pennies for a solid starting pitcher. So this is kind of a win-win in my book, right? You can use him as a 6th starter because probably more than likely he's not going to be able to pitch a full season's worth of innings. So you can use him as a sort of 6th man in the rotation. If things don't work out in a starting role, you can use him in the bullpen as a long relief role. And worst case scenario, and you don't like where he fits anywhere on this team, you can put him into a trade because he does not have a no trade clause. Like Garrett Whitlock, this does limit your flexibility with this rotation. Adding him in as well gives you about 6 starters already on this Red Sox team that have been confirmed. Now, obviously, we want someone brought in from the outside to be able to really anchor this rotation, a guy who can eat a lot of innings, who can be a really solid pitcher, a 1-2 slot pitcher, and that might not be able to happen with the rotation we have right now, which opens the door to some really interesting trades. If the Red Sox do want to add some legitimate ace type arms to this rotation, they're going to have to make room somewhere, and that could include trading away some of your starting pitching. We talked about the fact that James Paxton is available for trade. Nick Pivetta could be a guy that gets traded away. He had a rough 2022, but at the same time too, there is still some potential there with Nick Pivetta. So keep an eye out on those interesting trades coming out of the pitching rotation to make room for a guy who could possibly be a ace caliber pitcher from either the free agent market or the trade market as well. So in my opinion, this James Paxton move really isn't that bad at all. I think they got a pretty good deal with James Paxton, obviously depending on how he heals and how he comes into 2022. But again, if it doesn't work out, it's only $4 million. It's not the end of the world. All in all, I think all of these moves are fantastic. I love the fact that they brought back Rob Refsnyder. I love the fact that they're putting Garrett Whitlock in the rotation. I like the fact that they got James Paxton on such a low deal, right? Personally, I think this all kind of works out in the Red Sox favor, but I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of all of this? What do you think of the Rob Refsnyder news? What do you think of the Garrett Whitlock news? What do you think of the James Paxton news? Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, you made it to the end of this video, you might as well hit that sub button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seat.